its African name, is the word sphinx. Sphinx is a Greek word which means to strangle or to hold. And it comes from the story, like for example, the story of Oedipus Rex, the monster that terrorized the Greek population in ancient Thebes in Greece, not Thebes in Egypt. And so that monster would pose a question to the people who walked down that road, and that question became known as the riddle of the Sphinx, who walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, 3 legs in the evening, and the more legs that it walks on, the weaker it becomes. And whoever could not answer that question was strangled by the Sphinx. And so the original name for that structure is Her-em-Akhet, Heru on the horizon. Heru was the son of Asar and Aset, the founding mother and father of ancient Kemet. Kemet is the original name for the country that the Greeks renamed Egypt. Egypt is derived from the Greek mispronunciation of Hakapata, or the temple of Ptah in the city of Mennefer, which the Greeks renamed Memphis. So Hakapata became Agapta, which became Ajaptus, or Egypt. So the issue here is, if you don't know the original names that your ancestors named a person or a place or an object, then you'll never be able to understand the spirit that is embodied in that thing, in that place, in that person. And I like to make the analogy of Roots. Everybody has seen, hopefully everybody has seen the series, if not having read the book. And one of the most telling scenes in that television program that stands out in my mind was when Kunta Kinte's owner literally beat the African out of him. After he purchased him, he beat him and until he embraced his new name, Toby. So he was no longer Kunta Kinte, he became Toby. And I submit to you that if Kunta Kinte's mother was kidnapped a month after he was stolen and sold and lived in a concentration camp a half a mile away from where Kunta Kinte was, and she asked the people there, "Have you seen my boy? Have you seen Kunta Kinte?" Nobody would know who he was because his name had been changed. So for us as African people to begin the process of knowing ourselves, we have to know what we call ourselves. We have to know where we came from. We have to understand the energy, the spiritual energy that comes with calling something a specific name. And that's the first step, one of the first steps to reclaiming your mind, your consciousness, and your soul.
One of the things you talk about is how you say that if we know our history, we could not have gone from being gods to dogs.
Well, one of the things that our enslavers had to do in order to ensure that we would be controlled by them is to erase our memory. And I use the metaphor that the past, our past has been erased, and the erasure has been forgotten. Mm-hmm. So we don't know, and we don't know that we don't know. Mm-hmm. And with the absence of that knowledge, with the absence of the knowledge of the absence of knowledge, we now will become whoever they say we are. So it's important for us to begin to realize one basic reality: we only know what we know. So we have to ask the question, who's responsible for telling you what you know, for teaching you what you know? Has it been the descendants of your enemies? Or has it been someone within your family? And the reason why we have to ask the question is, oftentimes we are miseducated by people who look just like us, by people who love us, by people who are in our families, which essentially reinforces the fact that you only know what you know. I learned about the Christian God through my grandmother, who was probably closer to the Creator than any European whoever introduced her to God. But because this was what she knew. She learned about God through her mother. So all they can do is pass down what they know. And it was essential, this knowledge or embracing this information was necessary for my grandmother to negotiate life here in Chicago after they moved up here from Alabama. And she took me to church. She was my first exposure to Christianity. But fortunately, I was born with an inquisitive mind, and I would ask questions. Well, why is it that all the people in the Bible are white? Why is it I don't see people like me in the Bible? Why is it that if the church is the house of God. Why is it that, somebody stole my mother's purse in the church? If God's supposed to be, I'm asking questions that you're not supposed to ask. And the only response is, oh, don't ask those questions. And that's,
You don't question God.
you
Is
don't,
what they told
yeah,
us.
well, but that's what they told us. And I just fortunately never accepted that. That's one of the benefits of having an inquisitive mind and a supportive family that encouraged asking questions.
You talk also about when you don't know yourself, you don't know what you haven't begun the work that you came here to do. So how did you learn the work that you came here to do? How did you said that your original interest was in architecture.
Right.
And then you changed it because someone failed to teach you math.
Right.
So
You remembered all of that.
yeah. Right. So talk about how you were able to find yourself even though you really didn't have a real great handle on yourself at that time,
Well,
early on anyway.
and to just add to that story, I developed a phobia of math in the fourth grade. That's when we were learning the multiplication tables. And my fourth grade teacher was my first African American male teacher. And he had this terrible habit of hitting you with a ruler if you missed a question. He would ask questions, and I remember him. He asked me my multiplication tables. I got it wrong. He hit me with the ruler, and that just caused me to have a mental lockdown with regards to math. And when I came to high school in Oak Park, I developed a love and appreciation for architecture. In my last 2 years, I took architectural classes. My freshman year at Circle, I majored in architecture, but I never could get over this phobia of math. And I just reached the point in my freshman year in college where I was just tired of Chicago. I wanted to get away. And I went to Howard the summer of '71 to try out summer school at Howard. And I liked it. I liked the environment. And I transferred to Howard and changed my major from architecture to design. I've been drawing all of my life. And so it wasn't a stretch for me to just shift gears and do design, graphic design and advertising instead of architecture. And moving to Washington, D.C. was probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. It probably saved my life because